Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. The central government has stepped up its scrutiny of Meta, summoning the company's global head of public policy, Joel Kaplan, and a senior Instagram technical official for meetings on the 5th and 6th of August. The discussions are expected to focus on how Meta's algorithms function, why certain content gains greater visibility than others, and whether the social media giant is complying with Indian laws governing online platforms. The meetings come in growing concerns over content moderation, political content amplification, child safety, AI-generated misinformation, and the platform's handling of high-profile accounts. According to reports, officials will be seeking detailed explanations about Meta's recommendation systems and the factors that determine the reach of posts on Facebook and Instagram. The center is understood to be examining whether the company's algorithms disproportionately amplify certain categories of political content while suppressing others. The government has reportedly asked Meta to submit a written explanation regarding the technical glitch that led to the temporary removal of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Facebook post. It's also likely to seek a formal written apology from the company over the incident. Ayush Nambiar, communications expert, is joining us live. Advocate Khushbu Jain is also with us live. Cyber law expert Sakshar Dugal, cyber expert, also joins the broadcast. Ayush Nambiar, let me begin with you first. Obviously, the centre and in particular the IT panel taking this matter very seriously. There is a clamour that this time social media giants shouldn't be allowed to be let off, the hook very easily. What do you make of this entire controversy, and what action do you believe would be suited against Meta and other errant social media companies?
See, I think, India's long-standing dependency, which I still remember the last decade of conversation of digital colonization, is something which really, really bothers. And these are the kind of instances that suddenly remind you that yes, you want your digital infrastructure, your digital platforms to be independent. Yes, we are 100% in favor of globalization of all kinds. I personally feel that being connected to the world and to connected to all the fine gentlemen in it, all the kind women in it is really a privilege. And I think our generations and the last 2 decades has really enjoyed this liberalization on digital platforms and globalization. But I am absolutely convinced with instances like this that it is high time. Indian stakeholders, investors, my dear friends, I think it is high time for us to absolutely think about a digital independence, platforms that help us, control our thing. Now, for example, recently, I heard of a case of a 16-year-old girl from an urban school in Mumbai, and she committed suicide because a certain post that was violating her privacy was posted by a strange account. And Meta did not take the right steps at that point. But at the same time, the same Meta, the same Facebook is now, you're seeing that you're able to keep a check and balance on the Prime Minister and the government. There are times when you see political infringences. Now, for example, the recent, I would say the recent problems that New Delhi and the Lutyens faced with a huge Gen Z crowd coming in. I mean, are you telling me that there was no amplification from Meta, or was there no way for them to restrict it or control it? We are talking about accountability, long-standing accountability, which we as the youth of the country are asking from the government, from the people. And it's not just a trend, it's the ask of the hour. At the same time, we want our platforms, our communications people, our media, our listeners, everybody to be responsible and accountable. This accountability is it's much expected and much needed from the likes of Meta, from the likes of X, from the likes of all the other big technological media platforms. India is the largest contributor to Meta's finances, the largest market for Meta. Unlike China or any other country, the market is not as established for any of these giants. If a country that contributes so much to the people, so much to the platform, I mean, basic courtesy is to be accountable, and negligence of this kind is obnoxious. It is not called for.
Okay, let me quickly, in fact, also get you in here now, Khushbu, on how that meeting really panned out for you. What do you interpret, of course, the actions of the IT panel of Parliament that it summoned, of course, the relevant officials, the questions that were posed, the action that is now being planned, the information coming in through our sources? Because obviously this is something that now we are learning through our high place sources that the government is not likely to just overlook, or forget about in a hurry. Do you believe this is appropriate?
I think we should not overlook, because see, the incident with that we are talking about, if we talk about an incident in Silo, that is the our honorable Prime Minister's video. It's not just that incident, but this actually shows the power Meta-like companies have over the speech in India. We need to understand this as a powerful tool that they have. Also, we need to also understand that this was just a brief removal of a video addressing young people on an exam leave. Just by this removal and calling it as in error because of technical problem. Now, this is where the problem comes, is that we need to understand that what power are they holding over here and what manipulations was being behind that. And just by saying, this was a technical glitch or there was an error into it, this cannot be a full answer. And that's where I think our government is stepping in and asking that this cannot be a full answer. A glitch need to explain what happened, but it does not explain why it happened. It does not explain who or what triggered it. It does not explain what guardrails failed. It does not explain how long did it stay down, or whether the same remedy is available to an ordinary, other Indian users. Now, if a verified account can be wrongly taken down, imagine people like us whose accounts, or what things can go on just behind the curtains or behind the screens that these companies practically have a control over. And at the same time, I think this also makes it very clear, Uday, I'm going to repeat that point again, which we have been discussing from very long. This is where we need to see that Meta is playing both the roles. And I would say that it cannot say that we are only an intermediary and then do not make us responsible for our for user speech. And at the same time, it runs systems that practically can remove a political speech. It can restrict accounts. It can rank posts. It can recommend content. It can practically decide who gets what kind of reach. So practically, Meta has a right to moderate under the law and its policies, but when that power comes with a responsibility, the reasons to take down human appeal, audit logs, time-bound restorations, and everything else is where they say that, oh, we can't do this. We need to be under safe harbor protection. So practically taking a shield of intermediary status. I think if you want to continue that, you need to show the discipline, you need to show the transparency, you need to show the accountability, you need to show the due diligence that justify that shield that they are enjoying. And I think this is the right time that government is stepping in and being very strong-headed. I just don't want this to be diluted. Personal view into it. This cannot be diluted. I think the questions need to be asked. And I think I would prefer other people to speak, but I do want to come back on this point of there has been a recent judgment by the Delaware court involving Meta, talking and questioning on certain things. I think that has Indian users and government need to have a look into that as well.
Okay. Sakshar Dugal, come in here. Obviously, this summoning that is scheduled for the 5th and the 6th of August, tomorrow and day after, is going to now not just deal with this moment alone where that video was taken down. Of course, there will be a detailed explanation, perhaps even a written apology the government will seek over it. Means they're not, which obviously implies they're not willing to overlook it, or merely a spoken apology is not enough. But also wider, explanations are going to be sought from this concerned company during this 48-hour period. Sakshar, what do you believe is going to transpire over the next 48 hours? And was this something that was coming for a while for Meta and other social media giants in India?
Uday, I think the writing was clear on the wall. I mean, let's face it, Meta says that we have removed, by technical error, we have removed the video of our Prime Minister, but they can't keep off child abuse from their paid running ads. I mean, this is not a capability problem, this is an accountability problem. And on top of that, they're giving numbers like we have removed 36 million pieces just because they want to have that safe harbor under the IT Act. Well, right now, I mean, there have been any number of cases whether you talk about child abuse, whether you talk about PM's removal of video. Meta has to understand that this is not the first time where a big tech giant is actually coming forward and taking undue advantage of its power. Remember Twitter versus the government of India in 2021. And that time also, the government was quite particular and clear of this fact that just because you are a tech giant, that doesn't mean you would override the law within this country. And more importantly, Uday, one thing that we need to understand is that today, okay, even if we get an apology, that's fine. But the issue is quite grave. Because when we talk about accountability, the current laws, whether you talk about the IT Act, we talk about DPTP Act, they lack all the aspects of AI. Companies can, move forward with biasness, algorithmic issues, and whatnot. So I'm sure the government of India is taking this point very clearly because the minister has been quite clear that the Digital India Act will be out. And this is one of the biggest examples how and what kind of abuse of power any tech giant can have. Therefore, having proper accountability measures within the upcoming advisories and within the upcoming laws is required because I personally believe apologies are cheap in nature, and if right now if a proper step or a proper a proper direction would not be taken, this would create a wrong example for all the tech giants because India is the biggest market in the world. We have the power, we have the bargaining capacity as well. So I think it's the right moment where we can put forward, have a proper advisory, and in the upcoming law we can use examples like these to address further issues.
Okay, let me in fact quickly take that back to you, Ayush Nambiar, because the fact is, it's not just about Meta alone now. It's a wider conversation, it's a wider ambit of discussion now in government quarters and, of course, today on our panel as well. Do you believe there needs to be more accountability for these social media companies now? And also with their growth and with the expansion of user base, do you believe perhaps this is something that is the need of the hour? Perhaps it should have been done yesterday already.
Absolutely. Rather, I'll just draw the attention away from the Prime Minister for a minute. I want to take the attention towards your attention towards your, for example, your social media influencers. I want to draw attention towards you and me. I want to draw attention towards NewsX and ITV networks, social media digital handles. I mean, today, every single swipe that you make, every single time you open your phone, every single time you swipe, you are being recorded. Your data of your swipe, I'm not talking about text messages, likes, comments, no. I'm talking about swipe, I'm talking about searches. There is exceptional amount of data which can be collected and which can be used. Meta happens to be the big daddy of this. Meta, X, and so many other platforms. I mean, even for that matter, to record such data is the very purpose why Trump launched something known as the Truth, right? The Truth application. I sincerely, firstly, you ask anybody that, are you comfortable with this data being used, or you'll see a little bit of a hesitation here. I don't know, I'm not sure. That hesitation should be amplified when you think that it is not even restricted to your sovereign land. India's sovereignty, is it really pure anymore? The question is about accountability, sure, yes, but it is high time. It is high time for the government. It is high time for our policymakers, for the esteemed panelists like Mr. Duggal and Khushbu. I mean, you need to make sure that the policy of this country allows the people of this country must install use applications that are made in India. Made in India applications are the only right answer. And accountability of these large giants, of course, tomorrow another instance happens. What is going to happen? They are just going to say, okay, apology. If you take a strict action, I still remember the uproar when TikTok was banned. Today, if I tell you, even for that matter, even if I tell NewsX that, hey, listen, your Instagram account, your Facebook account, or your YouTube channel is going to be blocked, you will start wondering how to amplify your content. You will have an uprising within yourself. And that is my very concern. I say, yes, you have to be digital front. Today, you don't have an option. But you need to understand, the government needs to understand that just like they have taken over and they have started manufacturing iPhones, it is better time that we manufacture, control, and restrict our data to ourselves. And I'm sure acts like the DPDP, which is going to be soon in power, are going to ensure that. Today, you are using WhatsApp. The minute you open, the time you wake up, is also restricted and reserved in your phone. That data, you might not be able to remember what time you woke up, but the minute you touched your phone knows that you've woken up. The amount of data, it is a question about data, and that's the larger picture here, Udayji. And I must tell you that India is far behind, and when India as an industry is far behind on such subjects, they must make sure that the government takes the right steps, takes the right bulletins, forms the right policy, makes sure that the governance of those policies and the execution of such policies empower such companies that are trying to create, manage, and optimize data. The government must realize its responsibility, the larger responsibility towards making sure that this data is sovereignly controlled and managed. I am okay to be, governed by the people within the government of all kinds. I'm okay even if there is hypocrisy at times. But to know that there's a foreign government or a foreign land, Americas or the Russias or the UAEs of the world, they have my data, I am not comfortable with. This is the kind of step, even if it was by the Prime Minister's video being taken away, if that has triggered this conversation, I'm so happy. So be it.
Okay, let me in fact quickly go back to you, Khushbu Jain, as well now on on greater accountability. Is it through strengthening of laws that this will come about, Khushbu? Is it through more monitoring of what's really happening on these social media apps? Is it for penalties when discrepancies are found, when these companies air? How will this this change happen?
I think, Uday, you have asked a very valid question. And I am also looking for this answer from very long, that we are making changes in the law, they don't comply. They take themselves bigger, much, much, much bigger than the country's law or the government. And I think that's where government, law enforcement agencies, and our laws have to keep a track to a level that at least let's enforce the laws that are with us. I'll just give you a very small example, that we have got 2021 guidelines in amendments or the rules in the IT Act, which practically says that you can enjoy the safe harbor protection. But if you are found guilty of the crime, or if you are aware of the crime and you have a knowledge and still you let that continue on your platform, you don't enjoy safe harbor protection, meaning you are like anybody else. You are also abetting in the crime or aiding in the crime, and hence you should also be responsible for it, and your name can be put in an FIR. Forget about aiding or abetting in the crime. You look into the numbers or the facts that have come up, the BBC report or the reports that has been issued by the Home Ministry itself, where it is been very clearly put across, very clearly. These are the numbers which very clearly talk about the child sexual abuse material on these platforms.
Yes.
Now, these were not just the content that were available over there, and it's a user who has put that content, and hence user should be held liable. I'm talking about a content, a portion, which is practically a advertisement part of it. It's a paid advertisement. So this material has nothing to do with an issue of illegal part which user has put across. This is something which is a paid advertisement which gets approved, which gets pushed to people and then earns money on the way. And then it is not, it's not something which one can ignore. A Meta has to put libel into it. So that means you're aware about it. Your transparency report, which you talk about, that, we are complying with Indian government. So much request keeps coming from the Indian government and we do so much of takedown. And this is against, the user's right to freedom of speech and expression and so on and so forth. Practically all that gets negated, because why? You don't give a transparency report when it comes to paid advertisements which contain illegal content or illegal aspect into it. Forget about, I'm not even talking about entire list Pandora box when it comes to illegal content, but a content which is like a CSAM, child sexually abusive material on your platform, which has been utilized for paid advertisements. So when you see all these things, I think it's high time we need to make sure that we implement our laws.
Right.
We need to have a mechanism in place. No, I'll just take one more second.
Okay.
That we need to have real-time mechanisms.
Okay, so those mechanisms are needed. Yes, Sakshat Duggal, last word to you. Last word to you. There's on a lighter note, of course, the latest Spider-Man movie is running in theaters, and there was that dialogue from one of these Spider-Man movies: with great power comes great responsibility. Do these tech companies understand that? If they don't, how will they understand it through provisions that the government should bring in place, Sakshat Duggal?
Therefore, these companies accountability only answer, and accountability only comes through the penalties of laws. So till the time we don't have a proper law and a strict advisory for these companies, I think they would not be able to adhere to this dialogue of with great powers comes great responsibility.
Okay, thank you all very much for joining us. We've run out of time. We are slipping into a very short break at this juncture. Much more coming up on the other side.